Summer has arrived, and with summer comes heat, and with heat comes heat and drought stress in the lawn. Are you looking to keep your lawn as green as mine in the back here? Well, you found the right video. Today we're going to be talking about heat, stress, and drought stress, and how they're affecting your lawn this summer. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Those of you new here, my name is Wade Murray. I'm a lawn care enthusiast as well as I worked in the industry, and today we're going to be talking about the industry secrets to keep your lawn green and healthy throughout the heat stress in the summer. So if that sounds like a good idea to you, make sure you hit that subscribe button and hit that like button and share this video with your friends and family so we can help grow this Canadian lawn care community. Alright, so today is currently July 23rd and we are in a little bit of a heat wave here in the GTA. The high today was 37 degrees Celsius. It felt like 45. Right now it is almost 8 o'clock and it is currently 32 degrees, feels like 39. So let's just say that it is not by any means cool outside right now, and the lawn has been exhibiting some of the results of heat and drought stress in the back behind me. So a lot of people ask me, why does my lawn go brown in the summer? What is causing this? So there's two major causes for why your lawn would go brown and straw brown in the summer, and why those weeds are going to start invading and your lawn's going to start thinning out. And those two causes are heat stress and drought stress. And those two are different. And the easiest way to differentiate the difference between the two, I find, is to explain them just like what you suffer as a human in the heat as well. So heat stress is stress from the heat. When the temperatures are very hot outside, humans have a similar thing to heat stress called heat stroke or heat exhaustion. Heat exhaustion is essentially when our sweat glands as humans is not able to keep up and cool ourselves down in the summer throughout the heat. And your lawn has the same thing. So your lawn transpires just like humans. It sweats to try to cool itself down. And that's why on those very hot days, if you actually feel on the lawn, it will feel quite moist. And that's the lawn transpiring, trying to cool itself down just like we cool ourselves down. However, heat stress is essentially when the lawn is transpiring, and it can't cool itself down. And unlike humans, where we get up and go inside into a nice air-conditioned space and cool ourselves down, the lawn doesn't have the opportunity to pick itself out of our backyards and go into a nice air-conditioned space. So the lawn has different ways of dealing with the heat, and that gives it a significant look that is undesirable to us in the lawn care community, lawn care enthusiasts, or sports turf industries. Alright, so I'm out here on my front lawn, and this strip right here is an area of my lawn that is exemplifying symptoms of heat stress. And the reason why I know specifically this is heat stress, it's the proximity to the concrete that is my front walkway here. This concrete gets very, very hot in the sun, and this front yard here gets full sun. And that heat radiates off the concrete onto the grass and heats up this grass. And this grass is transpiring, trying to cool itself down, and it can't cool itself down because of the radiant heat of the patio. And that's why this edge looks kind of burnt. And the reason why it looks like this is the first thing the lawn does to try to cool itself down when transpiring is not working is it will close that blade up. So most grass blades are open just like this. It's essentially two blades with a little crease in the middle, and it opens nice and wide to try to get as much sunlight as possible. However, when there's a lot of sun and a lot of heat, the grass tries to cool itself down in every way it can, and that includes sheltering itself from the sunlight, trying to give itself some shade. Just like when humans are hot, we seek shade. So what does the grass do? Those blades go from an open position like this to a closed position. And they get nice and small and narrow. And that's how the grass tries to protect itself from the heat that it is getting from the outside air. Now when these blades start to shrink up and go kind of narrow, you begin to get this kind of gray cast to the lawn. You're seeing the backs of the blades. It's very light, kind of gray, almost white cast to the lawn. This is the beginning effects of heat stress in your lawn. It is at this point where you need to either choose to try to help the lawn through and revert the effects of the heat stress if you're going to try to keep the lawn as green as possible, or you need to let the lawn go and it will go into the next step of heat stress, which is essentially dormancy. So just like humans, when we are suffering from an extreme form of heat, the body will do everything it can to survive, and including basically knocking you out. When someone's suffering from heat stress and they've gone through all those symptoms, eventually they're just going to pass out from pure heat exhaustion. The body's going to shut itself down until it can get into a cooler place where it's able to function. It's going to basically focus on keeping your vitals alive, your heart and your lungs. For grass, what we're looking at is very similar. We are looking at the crown of the plant, or essentially the brain of the plant. That's right down at the soil. And during these heat events, the grass is going to be focusing all of its energy into keeping that crown alive, so it can focus on preservation of the species, or keeping the plant alive. So what does that mean? It means that all this beautiful green stuff up top here that we love to see in our lawn is going to die off. It's going to kill off its leaf surface to keep the crown alive, so that when cooler weather arrives, the crown can say, okay, cooler weather's here, I'm ready, and it's going to start pushing out new leaf surface, and you're going to get this kind of browny, almost starchy leaf surface in here. This is essentially stuff that has been killed. The leaf surface is dead, it's dying off, and there's new crowns that are going to be pushed from that crown. As long as it lives, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it can't live through the heat, but if it lives, it will push new crowns and it will push new grass up, and that is how your lawn responds to heat stress. So now that we've talked about heat stress and the lawn's reaction to extreme heat, let's talk about drought stress and what the difference between the two of them is. Now, heat stress and drought stress often get lumped together because they do normally go hand in hand. Normally when we see a long period of prolonged heat, we also have a long period of minimal rainfall. And that is normally where we see this cause and effect of heat and drought stress commonly being associated together. However, essentially what drought stress is in the lawn, it is the equivalent to dehydration in humans. So where heat stress is going to be heat stroke, you may be hydrated, but you are just too hot and you cannot cool yourself down and you are suffering from heat stroke. Drought stress is dehydration, which is basically, it doesn't matter how cool it is or how warm it is, but your lawn has no water to continue to grow sustainably. So your lawn does the same effects that we see with heat stress. The crown basically preserves the crown of the plant, kills all the leaf surface, tries to preserve that plant so it can live and it can come back alive when more rainfall comes. So that's the difference between heat and drought stress. And the reason why I started this video with explaining the difference between the two is they both have different ways of tackling to see results in your lawn like this. To have a lawn that looks like this on a day that is almost 45 degrees. That's 20 degrees Celsius higher than cool season grass is meant to look like this. So there's different ways to tackle each one, and you have to know which one you're fighting and why. So without further ado, let's talk about the different ways to fight each one. Alright, so first let's talk about heat stress. How can we fight heat stress in our lawns? Well, there's a couple ways to do this. The first thing is how do you fight heat stress with yourself? You go to a cooler place. Now, you can't move your lawn to a cooler place, but you can cool your lawns down. Have you ever been to Canada's Wonderland or any sort of theme park and they have those nice big misters that you walk through that cool yourself down? Do the same thing with your lawn. If your lawn is suffering from heat stress, head out around 2-3 o'clock, the hottest point of the day, and turn on that hose for about 20 minutes and give your lawn a quick spray down, a quick hose down. That's going to help cool the lawn down a little bit, cool that leaf surface off, and hope that you're going to help your lawn through the hottest point of the day. We used to do this all the time when I worked at the golf course. When we had a really hot period of time, twice during that day, once around 11 and once around 2:30, 3 o'clock, we would kick all the irrigation on the greens for about 10 minutes. It was very light watering, not deep at all, but it was enough to put a little bit of cold water on those greens to kind of shock the plant, cool it down a little bit and get it through those really hot points of the day. The next way you can help your lawn through heat stress is mitigating other stresses. So when the lawn is already stressed with one thing, the least we want to do is add other stresses into the lawn. So preventing the application of selective herbicides, which you should already be doing if you're in a portion of extreme heat, but making sure you're staying away from selective herbicides, you're staying away from adding any fertilizer, you don't need to be pushing growth at a time of stress, and also staying away from excess traffic, staying away from excess mowing, sharpen your mower blades, all that great stuff. During a point of heat stress, it is most important to try to keep the lawn as minimal other issues to deal with as possible, so the lawn can focus all of its energy into dealing with the heat stress. And the final thing that I'm going to leave you with here on how to deal with heat stress is there is a thing in your lawn called an ET rate, and I've talked about this on the channel before. It's called an evapotranspiration rate. This essentially means that during those really hot days, what are the two things we're going to see out of our lawn? The first thing we're going to see is evaporation. The water in the soil is going to be evaporated into the sky from that beating sunlight we get on those really hot days. And the second thing we're going to see is transpiration. As we said, the lawn is going to sweat to try to cool itself down. If you can look up the local ET rate in your area, that is essentially going to tell you how much moisture, how much water, measured in inches, you lost each day of that heat wave due to your ET rate. How much water on average did the lawn transpire, and how much water on average did you lose to evaporation? Ideally, in a heat wave, you should be doing your best to replenish that water day after day to try to coax the lawn through the heat wave. Your evapotranspiration rate is a negative number. You should be putting a positive input of that water back into the lawn. This is making sure that the lawn is not in a water deficit, because when the lawn is in a water deficit, then now you are snowballing heat stress into drought stress, and that's just going to cause more problems for you down the road. Now the key word here is mitigation. Everything we're doing here is to try to make the lawn as comfortable as possible during this time of heat stress. Now, however, there is not a magic solution to the lawn this way. And there's nothing you can do to make the lawn not suffer any of the symptoms from heat stress. At the end of the day, the lawn is a living thing just like us, and it is not meant to grow in the conditions that Mother Nature is giving it. Any cool season grass is meant to grow between 65 and 80 degrees Fahrenheit soil temperatures. Today we are up in the high 80s, low 90s. Cool season grass is not made to grow in that heat. And there's a reason why we call it cool season grass. It's made for cooler seasons, not for these hot, humid summers we can get sometimes here in southern Ontario. So what you need to do is manage your expectations going into a heat wave. Know that there's nothing you can do. Your lawn is not going to look as good as the rainiest and wettiest day in the spring, but you're going to be able to coax it along. You're going to be able to try to manage those dry areas and work on things that way. All right, so now that we talked about managing heat stress, let's talk about managing drought stress. So a couple things you can do to manage drought stress is really keeping an eye on your irrigation system. If you're irrigating your lawn, narrowing down where are the bare spots in my system, where am I missing out here. You really need to be narrowing this down to a science, making sure, as I said, that your inputs are positive. You are inputting back in the correct amount of water that is coming out of your lawn. This is the best way that you're going to be able to coax your lawn through a drought stress situation. Another thing is, in a drought stress situation, there may be some watering restrictions on your area. Doing your best to work around those watering restrictions is what we have to do here. There are unfortunately rules, and we live in communities and we have to work with our communities. However, that doesn't mean that you cannot make the best out of the situation you're in. Again, managing expectations. In a drought stress situation, you're trying to introduce as much water into the lawn as possible. You are short on water, and any bit of water is going to help the lawn over no water at all. Preservation of the crown of the plant is a whole nother thing when the lawn gets to an extreme point of drought. It's not even the look at that point, it's whether the plant is going to live. So making sure that you're really narrowing down your irrigation, making sure that you're putting down a ½ inch to a full inch of water every week, and making sure you're watering deep and infrequent. So what that means is you're watering for long periods of time, not often. It depends on your soil. If you're in a clay soil, I would definitely recommend you're going to be watering for about an hour to an hour 15. And you're going to be and this is based on pretty normal city water pressure. You're going to be watering about an hour to an hour 15, and you're going to be watering that every third day. If you're like me, you have a very sandy soil, you're going to be watering about 30 to 45 minutes, and you're going to be doing that every other day. The reason is sandy soil doesn't hold water as well as clay does, and so we have to keep kind of adding it in at a more constant pace because the soil is so porous, it just flushes that water through the soil at a constant rate. Another thing when it comes to managing drought spots is watering localized dry spots. Rarely when we see drought stress, we see it affect the lawn in a total sense. We rarely see the lawn completely dry out. Most of the time when we're suffering from drought stress or other stresses like that, we see these dry spots kind of start to pop up in the lawn. Areas where maybe that soil quality isn't great, or maybe there's a big tree there that's taking away all the water from the grass, or maybe there's a rock underneath the surface that's causing the soil to dry out faster. We don't know exactly why those areas are drying out, so what you can do is making sure that you're replenishing the water in those localized dry spots. There's no need to water your entire lawn. Maybe just water those dry spots for a couple days, and that will push you through the time of stress. So what you can do, get your hose and sprayer, go out in every afternoon, look for those little dry spots where we talked about those leaves folding, add some water in those areas, water them and bring them back. That's the best way to deal with drought stress. Irrigation systems are only so perfect. Adding in that extra supplementary step of watering those localized dry spots is going to help bring your lawn to that next step, keep your lawn healthy and green. Now there is a final step to the puzzle, and that is a wetting agent. However, we are not going to be talking about that in this video. We're going to be saving that to the next video. So if you want to hear more about wetting agents, a chemical application that can help your lawn hold water better and better utilize the water that is currently in the soil, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We're going to be talking about wetting agents in a video later this week. So without further ado, from the Great Green North, my name is Wade Murray. Thank you guys for watching this video. I know there's tons of questions revolving to heat and drought stress, and we're going to be recording some videos at my project lawn next door as well, and looking at that lawn and how it goes through the summer. It's unirrigated, so it's a perfect kind of test plot to see what a completely unirrigated lawn is. We're going to be looking at it, seeing how it progresses throughout the summer, and then we're going to be bringing it back to life in the fall. So, from the Great North, my name is Wade Murray. As always, thank you guys for watching. Any questions, submit them to my website, greatnorthlawncare.com, or submit them through my email, greatnorthlawncare@gmail.com, and I'll be more than happy to answer them. And from the Great North, my name is Wade Murray. As always, keep it green.
I could crumble into pieces, but I got a million reasons why I won't. 'Cause this heavy is a season, and the sun is always right behind the storm.